Hello everyone, and welcome to my COA 6 Golden Apples Guide Part 2. The top 12 for the COA 6 have officially been revealed, so as a person who has watched the majority of the matches, here I'll be making my prediction for the top 12 and who will be the winner. I did make my predictions for the group stages, so let's see how accurate did I guess. Guys, last time was only a slight mistake and a slight miscalculation, and I promise that my predictions this time will be more accurate. Guys, just trust me on this one. Anyways, quick disclaimer here before I start, me guessing the winners of a match has nothing to do with my liking of them as a team. Me guessing that Team A will win does not mean that I think Team B are weak. Me guessing Team A will lose does not mean that I hate them, and all guesses here will be objective. With that, let's get into the predictions. Also, you are responsible for your own golden apples, and Invisible Joan here will not be responsible for any apples that are lost from following him. So, for my predictions, I'll be using a green bracket, yellow bracket, and red bracket to indicate my confidence in the guess. Green bracket here is where I'm very confident it'll be correct, and you know what they say? Green bracket, just copy. Yellow bracket is where there are some uncertainty in the match, so I'm around 70% confident it'll be right. Meanwhile, red bracket is where this is a complete YOLO, so it really depends on what you think, though you can also listen to what is my opinion as well. Anyways, with that out of the way, let's get into the guesses. For the first game, we have GG vs ZETA. Honestly, I feel like this match result should be very straightforward. GG here did have an unexpected choke against FPX.ZQ in the last day of the group stage, but overall, GG is still one of the strongest teams in the mainland China region, while on the other hand, ZETA is an amateur team and they did indeed show their skills as they managed to defeat a Japanese professional team, AXZ. But AXZ is deemed as a weaker team in Japan, so would they be able to do the same thing against one of the stronger Chinese teams? I don't think so. So green bracket, GG wins. For the second game, we have FL vs WBG. This will be a harder group to guess, as FL's performance is pretty inconsistent. While they did have some dominating games, they also had bad days as well. Considering that Group B consists of mostly amateur teams, struggling in Group B is definitely a bit of concern. Meanwhile, WBG also had inconsistent performances, as they have shown dominance over Scars and RB, while they were dominated over by ACT from both factions. So, with both teams having varying performances, I think WBG will have an advantage, as WBG's survivor ceiling is on par with Wolves RGR, and as seen in the game against Do5 and Scars. Also, WBG survived the group of death, while FL came out from a relatively weaker group statistically. Hence, I have more confidence over WBG. WBG wins green bracket. For the third game, we have ACT vs GR. This one will be hard to guess. ACT is not called the 50-50 king for no reason, as they have the potential to beat the best, yet lose against the worst too. From what we have seen, both factions did have some great performances, but they do occasionally fall asleep. For GR's survivors were very consistent throughout the qualifiers, not losing a single game at all, despite facing strong hunters such as Alex and Alf. Their hunter Super Rich, though, showed a struggle against strong survivor teams in the qualifiers, but he does dominate against weaker survivor teams. If we look at both teams' survivor factions, GR survivors managed to hold their own against strong hunters, and statistically speaking, Yue is not the strongest yet. Adding on the fact that he occasionally falls asleep, I feel like Yue will have a hard time breaking through. For ACT survivor vs GR's hunter, ACT survivors are strong, but they're not the best yet and they're inconsistent, so I feel like Super Rich should be able to get the few ties needed to win the game. GR wins yellow bracket. The next game of top 12 with ZETA vs GW. Both of ZETA's factions showcased a strong performance throughout this qualifier, from Alf managing to secure ties against the strongest survivor teams, to the survivors also mostly having strong performances. Meanwhile, GW survivors did have some good games, but they also had a number of bad ones as well. Their hunter Annie struggled a bit throughout some games, and overall they had a generally weaker performance as they relied often on the other team making a horrible mistake. So, if we look at the statistics, ZETA has GW's number from both factions, and GW's best chance is to break through when Vanpy is playing at BO1 and maintain that lead, as once Alf comes up, Alf already showed that he's one of the strongest hunters around here, so GW survivors will have a very hard time. ZETA wins, green bracket. For the first top 8 match, we have GG versus Wolves. This is another hard one to guess. They played each other twice in IVL Autumn Finals, with GG winning both times, but times are changing now. First of all, Wolves survivors have their full team back as they have Lion back into form, and they also had the highest for escape by far. GG survivors on the other hand are also very strong, not dropping a single game in the group stage, and definitely got more consistent. So, with both survivor teams being that strong, the key is whose hunter has a better performance that day. Alex definitely did struggle a bit in the qualifiers, sometimes getting free escape by amateur teams, and normally this means that I have more confidence in Xiaoma. Before this happened.
I have no more wax. He's gonna teleport there to see if he can stop anyone. He's gonna get stunned. Oh my goodness, it's gonna be a 4-man escape now.
Oh my god, I'm so frustrated with this game.
Xiaoma's performance in this group stage is definitely worrying, as 2 times when he only needed to eliminate one, he was on the way to getting 4 escaped. So with that, this makes GG's performance at the top 8 way more of a concern than Wolves. So with that, I'll have Wolves win, yellow bracket. For the second top 8 match, we have WBG versus FPX.ZQ. So this will be an interesting game to think about, as both teams' style are completely different. FPX.ZQ actually started off this qualifiers weaker, but then they rebounded swiftly in the last 2 rounds, especially their survivor, who managed to clutch a 4 escape. Their hunter D is more of a concern, seeing that he got free escape multiple times, struggled against strong survivor teams, and also was inconsistent against weaker ones. Meanwhile, WBG is also in a similar situation, having inconsistencies here and there. If we think about the survivors, FPX.ZQ is probably stronger and more consistent, but if we think about the hunters, WBG is probably stronger as YMM also has the potential to score points when needed. But the key difference here is YMM's limited character pool will forever be a concern moving on, and this is one of the reasons why WBG is weaker in later rounds. I can see WBG survivors scoring an opening under D and vice versa, so really, just go YOLO on this one. But with YMM's limited character pool, if WBG doesn't end this in 2 rounds or have a distinctive lead, things will get very hard for them in BO3. FPX.ZQ wins, red bracket. For the third match, we have AXZ versus GR. I feel like this one is relatively straightforward, as we can see in the qualifiers, AXZ while was first place, they lost against CT in the last match 0-2, and seeing that AXZ was in a group that was statistically weaker, failing to dominate that shows that they will probably struggle against stronger teams. Their hunter had an overall weaker performance, and this would give them a harder time in playing against GR survivors, who are one of the stronger survivor teams. As we can see, AXZ often relies on their survivors to score a breakthrough, and if they can't, then they will falter. Though Super Rich currently struggles against strong survivor teams, but AXZ is just not near that level yet. So, with Super Rich being able to hold their own against the AXZ survivors, GR survivors should be able to score points to help GR win. GR wins, green bracket. For the last match, we have Dofai vs ZETA. Dofai's hunter Dongx, I don't think I need to praise him even more. Having an average elimination of 2.46 in a survivor meta against professional teams, he is arguably the strongest hunter right now. While Alf isn't near Dongx's tier, but he's still a stronger hunter among the 12 teams. So, the key comes to the survivor faction. ZETA survivor had a very strong performance, managing to tie against Wolves in terms of the survivor escape with a 2.91 per match. Honestly, ZETA survivors are near Wolves level right now, so it will be hard for Dongx to show the same dominance he had on other teams onto ZETA. So the question comes, if Dongx and ZETA survivors cancel each other out, does Dofai survivor cancel ZETA's hunters out? The answer I believe is no. Dofai survivors, while managed to tie most of the time, they lack the ability to score free escape when needed despite not playing against the stronger hunters, which is concerning. And they got close to getting 4K in a couple of games too, if not for the hunter making bad mistakes. So, with Dova's survivors being weaker in general, this will be the breaking point for Alf to score points and leading the win, and similarly, Dova's best chance here is to try and score a lead if Vampy is going to play in BO1. But to do that, Dova's survivor must show their ability to free escape and not to counter we're not sure if Vampy will play or not. ZETA wins, yellow bracket. Now moving on to the semi-finals. First, we have Wolves vs FPX.ZQ. One thing we should note of is the matches here on out is in BO5, and if we think about both teams' strength, they're actually pretty similar as their strength relies on their survivors. But if we compare it in detail, Wolves survivors have a better record statistically. As I mentioned, they have an average of a 2.91 escape per game, almost managing to escape free escape every time. Meanwhile, Dee's performance is definitely more lacking as he only tied at best and also showed that he would struggle against strong survivor team comps, which Wolves is one here. So with that, I feel like Dee will struggle to score points under Wolves' current survivor team. As for Alex, he showed he does have potential to score points when needed, something which Dee did not showcase at the moment. Also, the BO5 scale works more in favor for Wolves due to their survivor team comp just having lots of weird tricks. Hence, I believe here, both factions of Wolves are stronger than FPX.ZQ, so Wolves will probably be the winner in this case. Wolves wins, green bracket. For the second match here, we have GR vs ZETA. They faced off before in the group stage, and ZETA won quite convincingly, as their survivors was a breaking point for GR. So with that as reference, I am leaning towards ZETA's win over here, as seen from the group stage. The one concerning thing about GR's Hunter Super Rich is, not only does he struggle to tie against strong survivor teams, he will sometimes struggle to eliminate one as well, and getting 4 escaped or 4K is deadly to the team, regardless of what happens. Overall, with Super Rich being a concern against ZETA's survivor and the past record, I have better faith on ZETA in this matchup. So with that, ZETA wins, green bracket. Now, we are moving on to the third place match between FPX.ZQ and GR. These two teams played against each other in the qualifiers, with FPX.ZQ winning, but the match here is more of a toss-up, as in their last clash, both hunters failed to tie a single match in all 6 games, so here, whoever exhibits the ability to tie and break through first will probably have the win. However, it will be hard to tell between these two hunters, but based off the fact that D had a slightly better performance in the group stage, my guess here is FPX.ZQ wins, red bracket, as this is really too hard to tell. Now, we finally get to the finals between Wolves and ZETA. In their last clash, Wolves won pretty convincingly by 2-0, but with this being a BO5, things may change. Here, if we look at the statistics, Alex does have a better record, but it is from having more 4Ks, but he also has some defeats under his belt. Meanwhile, Alf has less 4Ks but with less defeat, but statistically wise they are pretty similar. And here, both survivor teams can be seen as dead even from their statistics too, but I believe that Wolves slightly has the upper hand in terms of consistency. While Alf shows that he can consistently tie against Wolves survivor, Alex also shows that he can do the same too. So the key here is, overall speaking, who can perform better? One thing to note is, if ZETA having Vampy to play in BO1, he is not as strong as Alf, and this may be a potentially breaking point. Also, the other fact is that Wolves survivor I believe are more consistent than ZETA, so there's a larger potential for ZETA survivors to drop more points than Wolves. Hence, I believe Wolves will win the COA 6 bracket once again, yellow bracket. Alright everyone, now we're going to be moving on to the result predictions. And honestly, just go YOLO on this one because this one is like really hard to guess and it really just depends on what you personally think. I'm gonna share mine, but yeah, just go YOLO here. The hunter with the most hits in a single match. Well, the hunter with the most hits, like per my memory, from what I know, the highest number of hits probably is Dongshan's Bloody Queen with 19. Like I may be wrong and there may be something else, but yeah, like that one is high. But for certain, the hunter with the most hits is definitely removes any sort of camping hunter out of the mix, like no knight and stuff. Like those hunters won't hit a lot. But from what I do know, Bonbon's bomb actually counts as hit from what I counted. Like I'm not too sure if that's right, but she went to count, and I think bombs also counts as a hit. So I feel like with that, especially considering that we have GG versus ZT, like a lot of bomb stuff, so I feel like unless Dongxuan is gonna pull off another insane field control, otherwise I feel like Bon had the highest due to the bomb hit, so yup, guard 26, here we go. The most used character. Huh. The most used character probably... Alright, so with the most used character, actually, first of all, we have to thank... I actually want to thank one person, and this is the statistic guy in the Discord server. If you're watching this, thank you for providing me with the statistics, because I believe that he actually had a data sheet on it, so I'm gonna check it with the power of technology with a cut. Blip! With the power of technology, I'm back! So I have to thank the like mercenary and the computer guy in the Discord server. As he did a data on all the characters being selected in the group stage, and the highest is the mercenary, which is no surprise, because mercenary is a character that's not the priority banned, but if it's not banned, it has to be chosen. So yeah, I'm gonna go for the same here with mercenary. The survivor with the longest containment time in a single match. Longest containment time. I feel like the longest containment time would also have to range with a character that will always be fighting, like a character that helps the body block, helps harassing, helps battling with the hunter. So with that, characters, I feel like the survivor with the longest containment time, there is a high potential for it to be the prospector, because prospector's magnets doesn't run out, so he can actually come harass like 1 to 2 times. And there's just like, he's a character that helps harass that he can gain containment time himself. So I feel like here, I feel like that's a high chance prospector, because he can like harass a couple of times, items does not run out and stuff, so yeah. I mean, Wildling also has an opportunity, but I feel like prospector may be better, because Wildling doesn't, the meta is in favor for Wildling's harass. The most banned character. Honestly, do I need to answer this? I know the fact that the priestess is no longer priority banned, as there's a strategy to ban the priestess first in BO1. But the thing though is that not every map you have to priority ban the priestess first. You only really priority ban him in certain maps. So overall speaking, Seer, Eli like is still the most #1 banned. So yeah, that's out of the way. Let's move on to contestants. The survivor contestant with the most pallet hits. I don't know. YOLO. I just remember Iron likes to stun, so... As I said, YOLO here. The survivor contestant with the most escapes. Well, with the most escapes, first of all, it has to be a survivor team that escapes a lot. So I feel like it's either Wolves or ZETA. And the other thing, with the most escapes, then it has to be the one that plays the rescuer. Because the one that plays the rescuer is often the one that ends up being... that has the highest escape rate. So with that, I'm going to be choosing Wolves escape or rescuer here, Lion. The hunter contestant with the most terror shocks. Well, because like stuff like this is so hard to predict, but if it's one for me to guess, I'm going to actually go for an interesting pick here. Like I saw this in a video and I agree with it. It has to be a person that's good with mind gaming and likes to like mind game a terror shock. So YMM. Because like YMM actually did a double terror shock before with a Dream Witch, and also had an insane record of guarding, of like stuffing 3 rescues in the same chair with a Naiad. So because like YMM likes to mind game a lot, so I feel like he has the potential with the most terror shocks. The 100 contestant with the most eliminations on average. Normally, in normal conditions, I would say Dongxuan, but the thing with Dongxuan here is that we have to remember what caliber of opponent. Like, he'll be playing against ZETA, and I'm not sure if he can do the same thing. GG can like score 4Ks against ZT, but then they have FPX.ZQ, so it'll be a concern. So with that, I don't think this will be Wolves though, because Wolves will be facing against first GG and then ZQ and then ZETA. Like, Alex is strong, but don't think he can score 4Ks that easily. So we're going with the team that has the highest, like differential. Like we have to go with the team that's facing against the weaker survivor teams, and yet also have the potential to go far at the same time. So with that, I believe it's going to be ZETA's Hunter, and it has to be Alf. Alright, with that out of the way, let's go to the club. The club of the most dungeon escapes. Well, that's easy. The king of dungeon escaping, and the king of 4 escapes. The club to complete the most 4-player eliminations. Most. It's very hard to 4K in this meta. So once again, we are looking at the clubs that have faced against the weaker survivor teams. So I mean, GG versus ZT, Xiaoma can probably get 2 4Ks. The question is, would there be a club that exceed that record of 4Ks? I feel like it will be, so because the thing is that ZETA GW I think maybe can get 1 4K if lucky. Against those 5 maybe also 1 or more. And because in the finals, the thing though with the finals is that the more you're trying to go for a 3 to 4 escape, the more you get 4K. Like we know that Xiaoma maybe can get 2. The question is that will ZETA increase, or would there be anyone that gets club that gets more 4K? I don't think so. I'll select GG to be safe. The club that completed the most 4-player escapes. Yeah, that it's either Wolves or ZETA on this one. I think, yeah, maybe ZETA just because of ZETA has easier to score 4 escapes, and yeah, because Wolves versus Xiaoma, I don't know. It really depends on if Xiaoma falling asleep or not, but can ZETA to be safe. The club that uses the most characters. They have to be playing for a long time. Yeah, like what I'm choosing here does seem that I'm chose ZETA to win, but chose Wolves to win, but just because ZETA has more matches, so they have a larger potential to have more characters. Duration of the shortest match. Well, Cypher Rush is a thing now, but I doubt it'll be under 4 minutes, so yeah, I'll choose this one to be safe. Containment time in the match with the longest. 300 seconds. I mean, it's not out of the equation in games. Like, it's not out of the equation, but we rarely see it though. Yeah, I'll YOLO this one. Number of characters used in the group stage and the finals. Oh, I have to thank that mercenary guy. If you're watching, thank you again. Power of technology. Boom. Alright everyone, I've actually just checked the data sheets that he posted, and yes, it's already over 38. So guys, this question is over 38. This is one we already have the correct answer, just copy it. Highest numbers of knockdowns in a single match. Huh. Knockdowns. So, fewer than 16 times. Normally there are not that many knockdowns in a match in a normal condition, but in field controlling games there is a possibility, so I'm going to go for broke here. Yeah guys, with that, my COA Golden Apples predictions is done, and hopefully it'll be more accurate this time. And yeah, feel free to copy but watch me be completely wrong. If I'm wrong, feel free to come back and laugh at me. Anyways guys, it's Jung over here, and I'll see you soon. Bye!